Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's tutorial on the stitch sessions. I am so excited to dive into this week's tutorial. I know I say that every week, but of course I'm always excited to hang out with you guys and do some crochet. But this week's tutorial is this beautiful, elegant crochet throw pillow. And as you can see, it's the same on the back as it is on the front. And I have had this design floating around in my mind's eye for such a long time. And I was so thrilled when my vision was able to come to life. And you will be so surprised at how simple this pattern is to create. If you're a beginner, the only thing is if you still haven't kind of gotten comfortable with crocheting in circles, it just might take you an extra, couple of minutes or so, but it is just a basic crochet circle, and we've created a larger length here. This is about 15 inches across. So it's just basically a large circle. Now what we did to create a little bit of detail here, which is what elevates the simplicity of it, is we've added these front post double crochet stitches in this beautiful pink bamboo silk yarn. It's actually called, the color is actually called Blush, and it's by Patons Grace. I absolutely adore it. And of course, there'll be a link for all of the materials in the description box down below to make it a lot easier, where I got the insert for the pillow, the yarns, all of that fun stuff. They are affiliate links, by the way, so if you're looking for ways to support the channel, great way to do it. I do make a small commission, but you do not have to use this yarn. These are just suggestions, okay? So I am so excited to dive in and show you how to create this beautiful, elegant crochet throw pillow. So let's just get all of our materials together and let's get stitching. Okay, so here are the materials we're going to need for our project. I am using two different types of yarn. For the white portion, I am using Premier's Cotton Fair yarn. I really love working with this yarn. It comes in a 100-gram ball. And has 317 yards or 290 meters in it. And it is considered a fine weight number 2 yarn, okay? And it's 52% cotton and 48% acrylic. I've used this yarn quite a bit on several of our other projects, and especially a lot of the bridal projects, the finer little items that I made, I use this yarn a lot. Now for the accent that we used, this is the Patons Silk Bambo Yarn, and this, you can still find this on Amazon. I know you used to be able to buy it at Michael's. I have not seen it there in recent times, but I will leave a link for it in the description box down below where you can find this yarn. It is absolutely divine. It is so soft, and you can see I've already worked a few stitches with it, and it's just absolutely beautiful. In fact, I use this yarn to trim up my bridal shawl from 2019, I believe. I will leave a link for that tutorial in the description box down below. In fact, it's been one of my most popular crochet tutorials. So that is the yarn I used. You won't need much, but if you can get your hands on a ball of it, that will be great. And it's all right. Now, the hook I'll be using for this project is a 3.75 millimeter hook, also known as an F or a size 5. Now, you can certainly use a size 4 if you want, but I definitely like the effect that this size of hook had on the project. Now, this yarn is recommending that you use a 4.5 millimeter hook. Again, that's going to create just a slightly more relaxed stitch, but I wanted my stitches for this project to be nice and snug. And as you can see here in the first panel I've already created, it just gives this really nice closed in texture, and it just allows for the bamboo yarn to sit out just so beautifully. Okay, so that's the yarn, that's the hook. As always, make sure you have a pair of scissors, and you will definitely need a yarn needle to sew your pillow together and to weave in any of your ends, okay? You will also need a pillow insert, and for mine, I got the 16-inch round pillow diameter. Okay. And again, you can find these on Amazon, and I'll also leave a link for that in the description box down below, just to make it easy for you to scoop up all the materials that you need nice and easy. Okay, so let's get started. So as you can see, the project is going to be worked in the round, and it's basically a large circle. We're going to start from the center and then work our way out. And if you are familiar with how to crochet circles, the principle of how to increase your stitches is exactly the same. The only thing that is going to change technically is how we add in our pink yarn, and we are going to be carrying the yarn. That means we will not be cutting it off. And if I pull this a little closer, you will be able to see that I continue to carry the pink yarn along whenever I work the white yarn. So that's what we mean by carrying the yarn. And then to really show off the bamboo yarn, we work a front post stitch anytime we want to show off the pink. So that's what creates this really pretty effect and this beautiful texture. So we are going to get you started right away from our center ring, and we're going to begin with the white yarn first. Okay guys, I'm just putting this case down here just to create a bit of a contrast for the background. I realize sometimes with the white yarn against a really light background, it makes it a little bit more challenging to see. So here we go. So I'm going to begin with my white, and we are going to start off by creating a cinch circle. Okay, so it's very similar to creating a slip knot. So you just want to loop that around your fingers there, and then you're going to pull up a loop, but you're not going to close in that circle. What you're going to do is just hold on to it and then chain one right from there, and that secures your circle. Okay, so just taking that tail out of the way, okay? And now we're going to be working using double crochet stitches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain an additional 2, 1 and 2, and now I'm going to work into the ring. So I am going to place 11 double crochets into the center of this ring here. Now our chain 3 will count as a double crochet, so in total you're going to have 12 stitches. So as always, you yarn over for a double crochet, insert your hook first, then pull up a loop. So you're going to have 3 loops. It's going to be a little awkward in these first few stitches of the cinch circle here. You're going to yarn over, pull through the first 2 stitches, and then yarn over and pull through the last 2. So you've created your double crochet stitch there, okay? And you're just going to continue doing that until you have a total of 12 stitches. So that is 11 double crochets, including your chain 3. That's going to give you 12 stitches. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet up with you when you've done your 12 stitches. Okay, this is my 12th stitch, and so you're going to have something that looks like that. And so what we're going to do now is you're going to take your tail here and you're just going to pull it tight, and that is what's going to cinch the center of your circle nice and tight, just like that. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we are going to slip stitch to the top of our chain 3 to join our circle. But here's where things are going to change a little bit. I'm going to insert my hook into the top of that chain 3, but I am not going to actually pull through the white. This is where I'm going to introduce my silk yarn, okay? Or the bamboo silk, silk bamboo, something like that. So I'm actually going to hook on the silk yarn, and I'm going to now pull that through in order to slip stitch this round together. Okay, it's going to feel a little wonky here. So I'm just going to take my white and I'm just going to pull it tight. I'm going to pull that up a little bit. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. Sorry guys, I took the contrasting background away because it was throwing off the focus of the camera. So that is the center of our pillow right there. And don't worry about that little pink, that's going to go away in a second. So we now have 12 stitches after round 1. So now I'm going to continue working with the pink yarn for round 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain up 3, 1, 2, and 3. And now is where we're going to start talking about the front post double crochet stitches. So we're going to place a double crochet into the very next stitch, but instead of the stitch, we are going to work around the post. So we're going to yarn over as usual. And instead of going into the stitch, we're going to go around the post. So you see that? You just push your hook in through the back, and that pushes the post of that next stitch forward. We then are going to resolve a double crochet as usual. So you'll pull through 2 and pull through 2. Okay. Now what we're going to do is, I'm just going to leave those tails aside there, is we are going to now do another double crochet, but instead of the post, we're actually going to go right into the very next stitch right there. Okay, just like that. And you'll work a double crochet as usual. So basically we have our chain 3 at the beginning, which will indeed count as a stitch. Then we have a double crochet, a front post double crochet, and then we have a regular double crochet. So that is what we're going to repeat all the way around. So we are going to now do a front post double crochet around the post of the same stitch we just worked. So we just worked double crochet into the stitch, and now we're going to work around the post. So you're going to be in tight quarters here. It's going to be maybe a little bit funky to try and see, but just take your time. So that's the post. And so now you can see the regular stitch will sit nestled in between the 2 posts. And then into the next stitch, you will work into the stitch. And then again, you work around the post of that stitch. So essentially, every single double crochet of your initial circle is going to have 2 stitches coming out of it. And so now you can see the effect, right? So you can see the front post pushing forward, and then nestled in are the regular stitches. At the end of round 2, you should have 24 stitches, okay? So go ahead and do regular stitch, front post, regular stitch, front post, all the way around, and I'll meet back up with you when you're getting ready to close off your round. Okay, so I've just worked into my last actual stitch, and I've got that chain 3 there. That is actually my 24th stitch, but I'm going to ignore that. And that is because we still need to work one more front post double crochet, and that's where that chain 3 came out of. So I'm actually going to push that chain 3 from the first round forward, and I'm going to work my front post double crochet. So I'm now going to have 12 front post double crochets and 12 regular double crochets, and you can really see the ridge effect that it has, okay? So then what I'm going to do is I am going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3. And this time I'm going to keep the pink yarn, but before I do that, what I want to do is I want to come back here and I want to pick up my white color, or color A, whatever color your choice is for the first color. And I want to basically trap it in here. Okay, so I'm going to trap it in there, and then I'm going to slip stitch because I want to bring it up with me into round 3. Okay, so again, just to show you, I've trapped that yarn in there, and now I'm going to slip stitch to join round 2. Okay, and again, always make sure you have the right number of stitches. So I should have 12 front post stitches and 12 regular stitches. So normally I would do a chain 3 for the height of the stitch and then work over into the front post here. But I'm going to do it a little bit differently this time. I'm actually just going to pull this loop up a little bit higher. I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to go right away and work a front post double crochet. Now, so when I work that front post, I push the hook through, and when I bring it back around, the post, I also make sure that I trap the white in there with it, okay? And then I pull up a loop and I work a front post double crochet. Now, I'll pull up through the first 2 stitches or the first 2 loops. Now, before I finish, I want to pick up my white, and that's what's going to finish that stitch, because now I'm going to alternate. So from now on, I'm only going to front post with the pink yarn, and hopefully you can see that there. It's kind of hard to make out what's happening there. So now I'm dropping the pink, and now I'm just going to work 2 regular double crochet stitches. So I'm going to yarn over, and see how that's a regular stitch there? Into that stitch, I'm going to insert my hook. It may be a little tricky to see or tricky to find. I'm going to work over my pink yarn, and I'm going to work 1 regular double crochet, and then I'm going to work 1 more back into that very same stitch. So remember that the next stitch here is a front post. So guess what? We have to do a front post, but we've got to pick up that pink yarn. Now the boo-boo I made here is I finished with the white. So anytime we're getting ready to transition to our next color, we want to make sure that we resolve the previous stitch with the color we're going to use. So in the second double crochet here, I pulled through the first 2, but when I'm ready to pull through the second 2, I want to drop my white and pull up my pink and pull it through. Okay, so now it's just going to make it look like the pink is just coming up from inside that stitch. Okay, so now I have my pink back on my hook, and my next stitch is a front post double crochet. So I'm going to front post around the front post. Now again, I need to trap that white in there. So see what I'm doing? I'm making sure if I were to put the hook here, that white is going to get left out. I always want to carry it with me, just like that. Okay. And then I pull through 2. Now I'm going to change back to the white again. So you see, I had to drop the pink and I pulled up the white again. So your front posts are going to be a little bit cumbersome, I guess, because you do have to keep dropping that yarn. But I promise you, your final result is going to be worth it. So now we have our white. So now we have our white back on our hook. And that means we're going to place into the stitch, not the post, we're going to place 2 regular double crochets. So there's 1. Nice and easy. Now we're going to place a second one. See how the pink is getting trapped in there? A second one back into that same stitch. But remember, we pull through the first 2 first, then we drop the white and pick up the pink. And that is what we finish the stitch with. Okay, so now you can really see that the pink is starting to show through. So this is what you're going to do for the whole round. You will do a front post over a front post. Then you're going to place 2 regular double crochets and then continue. Front post, 2 regulars, front post, 2 regulars, front post. And remember, from now on, anytime you do a front post, it's done in pink. And I've showed you how to change the colors. And then the white will be in white. And then the regular double crochets will be in white. At the end of round 3, you should have 36 stitches. Okay, and again, just really quickly as a reference. Okay, round 1 we've created already. Round 2 was when we first created our front posts. And now we're moving on to round 3, which is the beginning of showing our alternating color changes. And then from here on out, once you get round 3, the system of round 3, then all subsequent rounds will be fairly straightforward to follow. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you up at the end of round 3 to discuss how you will continue to create your pillow. Okay guys, so I have now finished round 3 and you can really see how the texture is taking shape here. So that's where all the front posts are. So like I said, at the end of round 3, I have 36 stitches. Now you're just going to continue on in the same fashion for the rest of your pillows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up a list of the number of stitches you should have at the end of each round. So you can either press pause and use it as a reference or take a screenshot of it. And it'll be a nice guide to take you through to create the width of your pillow. Now, my panel here is 15 inches in diameter, and that works out to approximately 38 centimeters and a little bit. So that's why when you get your insert, my insert is a 16-inch diameter insert, which is also known as 41 centimeters for those of you that are on metric. And you may be wondering why I would get the insert larger than the panel. You have to remember that this is going to stretch a little bit, and you do want your cushion to be nice and full and firm. So you always just want to get your insert to be slightly larger than your panel, okay? And also keep in mind that especially for round pillow inserts, there's standard sizes they come in. So 16 inches is one of them. I think the next one up would be, it might be like 18, 24, and 32. So you want to kind of gauge that if you decide to make a larger pillow or one that's a little smaller. So you're going to continue on, and what's going to happen is in each round, the number of white stitches in between the pink will increase. So at the end of round 3, remember that we did 2 double crochets in between each pink post. So in round 4, you're going to do 3 stitches in between each pink post. And then round 5, you're going to do 4 stitches. And round 6, you're going to do 5, etc., etc. So the number of white stitches will increase. So if I kind of take you back to my first panel here, that is what creates the need for these post stitches to spread out, okay? So you can see here I had 2 stitches, then 3, then went up to 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. Okay, so those are your increases. And again, that little list of the number of stitches you have at the end of each round should help you. Now, a little something, before I set you loose for a little while, a little something about how I kind of kept my shape fairly consistent. So you'll notice here that in between each post, we're getting a little bit of like a rounded edge. And that's just natural because of the fact that two things. We're carrying our yarn, so naturally your work may start to kind of come together a little bit. And the post stitch is sitting a bit tighter. So when we're transitioning from one yarn to the other, it kind of naturally will just kind of snuggle in a little bit. And in fact, I really like the effect that it creates. So I'm very happy with it. So it kind of almost looks like a little bit of a fan situation. So when you see that happening, don't fret, that is normal. But just to kind of show you a little something, where my increases are, so you see there is where I increased in this round. So for example, so in the previous round when I increased stitches, see my increase was right there. So that means there's 2 stitches in one. Then in the next row, the increase was just before that increase. Then if you go in the row below, you'll see that this increase is nowhere really near the previous increase. Now, what I really recommend is for you to check out the tutorial we created on how to crochet a flat circle, because in that tutorial, I discussed the principles of how to increase your stitches. And usually what happens when you're working in the round like this, your increases tend to fall one on top of the other. So in the last 2 rows here, so see how there's 2 in 1 stitch and then 2 in 1 stitch. So they kind of fell close together. When you do as many rounds as we've done here, and they keep going, stacking one on top of the other on top of the other, they actually, the project starts losing its rounded shape and starts actually becoming more hexagonal looking, hexagonal, octagonal, however many little points you have. So that is a common challenge that people have with creating flat circles. So what I do is every few rows, so for example, here in this row, I did 2 regular stitches and then I did my increase here. And then I continued on as usual. But in the next row, I waited a little longer before I placed an increase. Okay, so the increase of that row was here and then it shifted over. So I would, and then in the next row here, see I shifted over again. So I would kind of mix it up so that the shaping evens out. So if you're a more experienced crocheter, I think you're definitely going to get what I'm talking about. If you are super new, do not worry about this. All you want to know is that every time you increase your stitches, so let me just go back to here. Okay, so for example, we did 2 stitches here. In the next round, we're going to increase each white section to 3 stitches. So obviously one of these stitches is going to get 2 in there. So for round 4, I would do my front post. And then in the very first stitch, I would do 2 stitches in there and then 1 stitch. So that's going to give me 3 stitches, or that's going to give me my 3 white stitches. Then I do front post, and then I would do 2 stitches in here and 1. Okay. Now in the next round, I would do my pink in the front post, but I might not necessarily do my increase right away in the first stitch. Because remember, we're going to go from 3 to 4 white stitches. So I might actually just do 1 regular double crochet, a second double crochet, and in the third stitch is where I would do my increase. So I always kind of jump around. I don't always just do my increase right away in the very first stitch. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay. And then you're going to see that your circle is going to create a nice shape. And that is how you're going to create your pillow. So I'm going to meet back up with you when I've finished my panel. For me, it's going to be my second panel. For you, it will be your first. So once you finish your first panel, you're going to then go back and do the exact same thing to create your second panel. So that way we have 2 sides. Once you've created both sides, I'm going to meet back up with you and we are going to talk about putting our sides together. Just really quick, I thought I would just start around 4 just to take you guys through your next set of increases. So I've got my pink yarn here. I'm going to pull that up a little bit. And I'm going to yarn over, because remember, we're going to do a front post right away. So I'm going to go around, around where that pink post is. I'm going to trap. Okay, just like that. I'm going to pull it through. And I'm going to resolve it like a regular double crochet. I'm going to drop the pink, and this is what's going to take you time, of course. Okay, and then I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to resolve it with the white. So remember, we've got 2 white stitches, but we need to increase them to 3 white stitches. So I'm going to yarn over, and in the very first stitch here, I'm going to insert and I'm going to place 1 and then 2 right away into that first stitch. And then I'm going to go into the next stitch and place 1. Whoops. Okay. So remember down here we placed 2 stitches into one, which gave us 2 stitches. Now we're going to place 2 stitches into the first one and 1 stitch into the second. So we have 2, 1, front post, 2, 1, front post. And that is how you're going to work the rest of your round, and that is how you're going to continue subsequent rounds. So in the next time when I go into round 5, I would do 1, 2, and then into the third one, I would do my increase there. So sometimes I start with the increase, sometimes I finish with the increase. And that is how you would continue on. Okay, so I have completed my second panel. And as always, the second one is never an exact replica of the first one. My second one just looks like it's a smidge, like just a hair bigger. Not the end of the world. Anytime you make 2 mittens or 2 booties, they're never exactly the same. But they do have the same number of rounds. Each of them has 22 rounds. Now you'll notice on my second panel here, I have not cut off my yarn yet because I'm going to use the same yarn to sew the 2 panels together. We're going to use a very, very simple single crochet stitch to hold these together. Now, I have just a very small amount of this bamboo yarn left. I really feel it looks really nice with that pink border. You may choose to just cap it off completely in white so that the front post stitches in pink, the silk part, stands out. And that was originally my thought process. And really, if you put your pillow here, this is a nice big firm pillow, which is great. See, it may not even get noticed all that much once it's put together, okay? So I'm gonna leave that totally up to you, but right now I'm gonna show you how you're gonna place these 2 panels together. So for now, what I'm gonna do is I am indeed going to snip off my white yarn, okay? I am now going to use the bamboo to sew my 2 panels together. So first things first, you want to make sure that the wrong sides are facing each other. Whoops, let's get this guy out of the way. Okay, so you can see I've got my little tails here. So I am now going to have the wrong sides on the inside. And so now when I place this one on top, I've got the right side facing out and the right side is facing out here. And now what you want to do is you want to make sure that your ribbed sections line up perfectly. Okay, and of course you would have had the equal number of stitches between each space, so that's going to work out just fine. I'm just going to turn it around so that the panel that actually my yarn is coming out of is in front. So I've just closed off this last round here of my second panel, and I've picked up my pink bamboo yarn here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that it lines up just perfectly with my bamboo on the other side. So I'm going to go right in here. I'm just going to pull this snugly here. So I'm just going to insert my hook into that very first stitch off to the side here. And then I'm going to find the corresponding stitch on the other panel. So hopefully you can see that there's where the pink was, just like that. And I'm going to insert right there. And from here, I am going to pull up a loop and resolve it with a single crochet. So again, insert into the next stitch and find the corresponding stitch. Which is that one right there, and single crochet. Okay, and you can see this is what is sealing up our 2 sides. you can see this is how our pillow is going to be sewn together, okay? So you're going to do that all the way around, okay? So it's very straightforward, and you're going to make sure that you get both loops of each of these stitches, okay? So we're not working into back loops or anything. Really straightforward, just one single crochet into each stitch. Now, what I would recommend is that you do it in this fashion until you've sewn up about 2/3 of your pillow. Okay, so if I'm here, I'm going to sew all the way around and probably a little more than half. So I'm probably going to go right about there. So I've got this little opening here. So let's see, that means I would leave 1, 2, 3, 4 slices of my pie still open. The reason I'm going to do that is so that I can insert my pillow, okay? And then I will finish up the rest of the way. So go ahead and do your single crochet seaming up, and I will meet up with you. Actually, you know what? I'll meet up with you guys once I've done half of mine, just because I just want to make sure that this pillow gets in nicely. This was such a great find. Okay, guys, you know what to do. I'll meet back up with you here shortly. Okay, so as luck would have it, I ran out of that bamboo yarn just around the halfway mark here. So you can see here that now my sides have been sewn together. You can see how it's really coming together. And so now it creates this perfect opening for my pillow. Now I'm still going to crochet quite a bit more before I actually stuff it permanently, but I'm just going to take my pillow right here, and just to kind of make sure that I'm on the right track, now's the time when I'm going to actually make sure that it fits nicely. Look at that. Oh, just love how this is coming out. And this pillow is fantastic. I can't believe how amazingly firm it is. So that's great. I am very happy. I'm on the right track. So I am going to keep stitching up my side a little bit more. Like I said, probably about 2/3, probably until, yeah, just like this, until I get about 3 slices of my pie left. And I'll take that opportunity to then permanently stuff the pillow and then continue stitching it up. And then our pillow's complete. We're almost there, guys. Okay, so I have now been able to stuff my pillow, and I'm going to just continue stitching it up with the pillow inside. So I just wanted to show you a couple of quick little stitches here. It's pretty straightforward. You're pretty much going to continue doing what you have been doing, but it may just feel a little awkward with the pillow inside. So I just make sure that I'm always pinching my 2 panels close together. Okay, oops. Let me get my yarn behind me here. And I always want to make sure that the stitches continue to match the front to the back into the next one there. And just single crochet as usual. Okay, now it's a little bit more awkward for me because I'm trying to hold it up to the camera, but as you can see, it's pretty much the same thing you've been doing all along. Just keep pinching and pinching until you get to your very last stitch and you will be finished your pillow. Okay, so let me finish this up and then I'll meet back up with you guys when you're just about ready to fasten off. Okay, so I just have a couple of stitches left and I just wanted to take you guys through it so that you know what to expect. So I'm just coming up to the last one there, single crochet, and then the very last one, it does get a little awkward here, is into the very last front post. Okay, and then I just pull that through. I mean, it's nothing different than what you've been doing up until now. Okay, so I've come up to the end. I do have one little stitch I can slip stitch into, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to snip my yarn now. I'm just going to pull up quite a bit. I'm going to snip my yarn here, and I'm going to pull that right through. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do, most of you who know me know I like doing an invisible join for certain types of projects. So that's where I use a darning needle and I loop it through, in and out, to make it look like it's just another stitch, as opposed to it looking obvious that it was sewn shut. So I'm just going to quickly show you what I'm going to do here. Okay, once you've threaded your yarn through your needle, you want to just pinch the side here so you can really see where you're going. And really where we would have gone here is we would have slip stitched into this next stitch here, which you can certainly do, but I'm going to show you my method here. So I'm just going to take my darning needle and I'm going to insert it in, as if in through those two loops like I normally would have done. Pull it up, pull it nice and snug so you can see it's bringing those two edges together. And now I'm going to go back in to the very last stitch we did. Let me just turn that over. And I'm going to go in through the back loop. So I'm not going to go underneath here. I'm going to go in through the back loop and down through there and pull it through. And I'm going to pull it so that it's nice and snug, just like that. And when you look at it, see, it just looks like the stitches continue and you can't really see where it was joined, okay? And then I will just continue to sew in through here, back and forth to secure it, just like that, okay? And you'll want to do this a few times so that your yarn is secure. And so that it doesn't unravel, because we definitely don't want it to unravel. So I'm just going to pick up another loop here. Whoops. Oh, I don't want to pick up that one. And now, since the inside is stuffed, I'm not going to worry too much about what it's going to look like on the other side. So I'm just going to make sure that wherever I continue to sew it in, that it always centers around where that pink post is, because that way my pink yarn gets hidden. Okay, and when you're finally done and ready to reveal your pillow, you don't even have to snip this. What I like to do is I just like to pull it inside. This is most especially what I do with pillows and stuffed items. I just grab my crochet hook gently and I bring it inside and just pull it to the inside, and then it stays hidden forever and no one is the wiser. There we go. Just like that. All right, guys, the final reveal. Our Sweet Pea Pillow. I am so happy with how this project came out. And I am thrilled and excited to see how yours is going to come out. I just love the way the little pie shapes here just nipped in along the edges. You can always add things like pom-poms and tassels, which actually I did debate doing, but I decided that I really enjoyed seeing the simplicity of this pillow. So there you have it, guys, your elegant crochet pillow ready to go for any room, any decor, any occasion. As always, I hope that you have enjoyed coming along with me on today's crochet adventure. If you have any questions, please remember you can always pop them down in the description box below. And you can always, of course, reach me directly at info@crochetcrafty.com. And by the way, why don't you come on over and visit me at crochetcrafty.com? You can see a lot of the other designs that I've created. We have a lot of free patterns on the site. And that reminds me, you should sign up for my monthly newsletter. Every month's edition has a free pattern giveaway. And if you're ever curious about looking for any of our other crochet patterns, I am working up on building up our stock in the Etsy shop, which is Crochet Crafty Canada. And you just might find the pattern for this little guy there. So go ahead and visit me there. I'm also on social media on Instagram and Facebook. Please do come and say hi and tag me. A few of you have sent me some of your finished projects using my designs, and I love seeing it. So it's so lovely being able to connect with you all and make all these wonderful new friends here on YouTube. So thank you so much for continuing to watch the tutorials and giving me your feedback, and I look forward to seeing you again next week in our next session. So in the meantime, have an amazing day, everyone. Happy crocheting and take good care of yourselves. See you next week.